Hello, my name is Laura Johnson, and I will be presenting on evidence-based practices in teen motor vehicle safety. The evidence-based program that I analyze is the Graduated Driver Licensing, or GDL, interventions, notably in Massachusetts and New York. GDL is a set of laws that provide graduated levels of requirements and restrictions upon teens seeking a driver's license. Many U.S. states have GDL laws in place with varying rigidity, ranging from banned nighttime driving, passenger restrictions, supervised driving hours, and additional driver education for both parents and teens. The target population is teens aged 16 to 17 seeking a permit and/or license to drive. Many states allow 18-year-olds to gain an unrestricted license with only a road test. The goal of the GDL interventions are to decrease vehicle accidents and fatalities within the target population. In analyzing these practices, the key question that I'm seeking to answer is whether or not graduated driver licensing interventions are effective while still considering ethical issues of personal choice. There are many determinants of health that can affect GDL efforts. Specifically, some social factors include ethnicity, gender, and socioeconomic status. Minority adolescents and those in lower socioeconomic statuses are disproportionately affected by vehicle accidents and fatalities. Studies show that minority teens in low-income communities exhibit riskier behavior than their counterparts. Behaviors include not wearing a seatbelt, distracted driving, speeding, and unsafe lane changes. The instances of engaging in these unsafe behaviors increase again for male versus female teen drivers. Diversity within the target population leads to diverse perspectives. During a study of high school freshmen on their perception of accident causes and solutions, the researchers found that the majority of female students were optimistic that improved driver's education and teen driving restrictions would increase motor vehicle safety, while the majority of male students did not believe that increased education and restrictions would solve the problem. The GDL interventions in the two states analyzed do not have different requirements for male and female teen drivers. However, based on their own perspectives and increased risky behaviors, it may be beneficial to address this within the policymaking process for GDL programming. The study of high school freshmen perceptions also indicate that targeted driver education towards males would be advisable to have in the curriculum. Furthermore, the impact study of the New York GDL found that the licensure rate of 16-year-olds declined by 21% in the 4 years after the enactment of the GDL laws. The decision to forego licensure may have come from a socioeconomic or family dynamic perspective in which driver supervision or funds for driver or parent training may not have been available. Many studies cite that motor vehicle fatalities are the leading cause of death for U.S. teens. For this reason, a primary health priority for this population is motor vehicle accident prevention and safety. GDL interventions address this priority by targeting behaviors and contributing factors to teen motor vehicle accidents. These behaviors are targeted through restricting the number of passengers under the age of 21, required hours of supervised driving, banned use of electronic devices, and banned nighttime driving. The studies of the Massachusetts and New York interventions both found significant overall decrease in motor vehicle injury and fatalities among 16 and 17-year-olds. And both hold that GDL programs are having an impact on this public health priority. The box on the left of this next slide lists the key players in the development and initial implementation of the GDL laws. It began with a typical legislative process in which special interest and advocacy groups like the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety partner with university-based research institutes such as the Center for Transportation Safety at Texas A&M University to bring the issue or solution to the elected officials for sponsorship. At the state level, committees and hearings were held to present the GDL proposals, and a vote was eventually held to pass all or part of the proposed GDL initiative. In some states, the traffic safety organizations proposed an array of restrictions, but the final approved proposal did not include all of the restrictions. The Department of Public Safety, health departments, and law enforcement offices are involved before and after passage of the laws in administrative rulemaking and implementation plans. These agencies are also responsible for informing the public of the new law change and how that affects the population. Finally, the administrative agencies implement, evaluate, and report progress on the GDL initiatives to the legislature. The traffic safety organizations and research institutes also track the implementation, impact, and shortfalls of the program to report to both the legislative and administrative branches. Similarly, the box to the right shows a wide array of external stakeholders involved in the GDL programming. Teens and parents are directly impacted by the GDL laws as they restrict many aspects of teen driving and set up additional hours of supervision by the parents. This also increases the amount of paperwork, fees, and driver education that the parent is expected to be responsible for. Public school districts, as well as driver educators, are impacted through curriculum changes, as well as shouldering partial responsibility for providing information to teens and parents regarding the GDL program. Healthcare and emergency response providers are also impacted through having regular and direct contact with teens and parents. They both have interest in the program because of their role in the prevention, education, response, and treatment of motor vehicle accidents. Local businesses, such as insurance companies, car dealerships, and media groups, are involved in the shared responsibility of providing information to their consumers who are impacted by the GDL laws. Likewise, a number of community resources are used in the development and delivery of the GDL program. In many states, the following community resources have been utilized: school and parent groups, student and youth groups, state and local media outlets, local law enforcement, and healthcare professionals. Community collaborations are supported by the CDC in its GDL System Planning Guide. The guide is a 2006 publication. The guide is a 2016 publication designed to assist states to make improvements to their GDL programs. The guide emphasizes the importance of partnerships with these community resources throughout each step of the improvement process, because of the opportunity for financial, in-kind, and human capital support. Lastly, efforts to fund the development, implementation, and administration of the GDL initiatives are somewhat varied state to state and include incentive grants, local and state tax revenues, and fee-for-service revenues from the state's DMV and from traffic violation citations. State and local revenues are appropriated in many different percentages and streams across the country, but the application is straightforward. The GDL incentive grant, however, is an example of a federal incentive grant. It is awarded to states that implement GDL laws that require young drivers to comply with a graduated licensing process prior to receiving an unrestricted driver's license. This grant is awarded and managed by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and was first introduced in 2011. Prior to 2011, there were other NHTSA incentive grants that included some funding for GDL initiatives, but this is the first to focus entirely on this particular program. Marketing is a key aspect of program delivery. For the graduated driver licensing initiative, it may be best to utilize a two-step approach. It is common knowledge that young drivers have increased risk of motor vehicle accidents, but the perceived threat approach shows teens and parents that they are directly susceptible to severe effects of this risk. This leads teens and parents to take actions to mitigate these perceived threats, such as participating in the provisional and graduated licensing, as well as complying with its requirements. Next, self-efficacy comes into play as the teen and parent both learn that the increased supervised experience of driving is allowing the teen to have control over the task and control over the risks. It shows the teens that they can be responsible for their own safety and in control of their own lives through the GDL programming aspects. Marketing should be targeted towards the intended audience through appropriate outlets. To market the GDL program effectively, messages should provide information about the program, why the program is needed, intended outcomes, and community roles. The way in which we bring the message will determine buy-in. To gain community buy-in, engagement with schools, youth organizations, and healthcare providers would be beneficial. The CDC's GDL guide states that initiatives to improve GDL laws, either on a state or local level, can gain community buy-in through directly involving teens, parents, educators, and healthcare providers in the assessment and implementation process. Targeting the intended audiences through mass communication is also a vital step in the delivery process. Communications will be different for teens than for their parents, as the two age groups respond to different media. For teens, the most effective marketing channels would be on their social media sites like Snapchat or Instagram, lifestyle websites like BuzzFeed, billboards or print media ads posted in teen areas, and public service announcements on the radio, TV, or internet. For parents, marketing the intended messages would be effective through public agency websites like the DMV and the Health Department, local TV news reports, and print media and newspapers and magazines. These are outlets that would reach the parents as well as provide reputable information that the parent would trust. There are specific ethical concerns surrounding the GDL initiatives that have been discussed since before these laws were enacted. They include limiting teen mobility, punishing all teens for the actions of a few, and the disparities in the law's impact towards minority teens and families. Also, GDL has historically had some teen, parent, and political groups in opposition to its strict restrictions and additional responsibilities. The ethical concerns identified in the box to the left are major points of contention to the opposing groups. An article was published by the Journal of Safety Research titled The Genesis of GDL in 2003 that explored the historical, social, and political aspects of GDL development. Major opposition from parents was voiced when the GDL initiative was first introduced to the U.S. in the 1970s and the 1980s. The restrictions regarding passenger and nighttime driving opposed parent directives to chauffeur younger siblings and double date. The article also stated that some teens and parents were concerned that the GDL laws penalize all young drivers regardless of their driving ability or maturity, and these targeted programs should only be required for those who receive traffic violations. Further, some teens and parents have decried the disparities for low-income or single-parent homes in which resources may not be available to supervise teen driving, as well as pay the associated fees for multiple licensures. The article notes that legislators are often very reluctant to place requirements on adults who may vote. Teens near voting age and parents that are part of this opposition are the reasons some elected officials are within the opposition as well. Also, there are several factors that contributed to the need for the GDL program. Social factors include the impact of loss of young lives, the social environment of typical adolescence, and a steady increase of the overall U.S. teen population. The Genesis of GDL article notes that in many states the incident of a horrific accident involving the loss of several young lives has been a catalyst for creating public and legislative favor for these initiatives. The social environment for today's teens include issues with handheld electronics and distraction by other teen passengers. These issues were directly addressed in current GDL initiatives. Also, the overall number of teens in the U.S. has been increasing since the early 1990s. According to Williams, the adolescent population increased by 18% between 1992 and 1998. This means that there were more adolescents behind the wheels when the majority of the GDL laws were passed. This fact alone has brought the need for teen driving safety to the forefront of society. Further, the economic and political factors are markedly interrelated. The revenue streams that state and local governments gain from teens driving-related fees for service and moving violation citations were cited as a political argument against GDL, since its implementation would raise administrative costs with less revenue. However, the high opportunity cost of each fatal and injurious adolescent driving accident that society has experienced is a contributing factor to the need for GDL, as well as a political tool to gain support for its implementation. Finally, during the legislative stage, fear of voter backlash has been an obstacle in GDL passage and further development. The voter pushback explored in the previous slide are still issues being brought up by voters today in various capacities. The historical delays in putting this program in place, as well as current delays in making improvements, have had a negative impact on teen driving safety and have contributed to its own need. There are many reasons why the GDL initiative was successful. In the Genesis of GDL article, the author speaks to the change of the culture of safety as a reason why the program gained traction. when it had failed to do so in the 1970s and 1980s. The baby boomers that had become parents and were much more conscious of safety in general, and this was attributed to the widespread acceptance of the program in the 1990s and beyond. Another reason this program was successful is because it was based on years of research and study of the causes of teen motor vehicle accidents as well as the best solutions. Many studies have been done correlating nighttime driving to increased teen accidents as well as various forms of distraction. Studies of existing programs that worked in other countries and in some U.S. states were also conducted. The GDO programs built this evidence-based research into the different aspects of the laws. Finally, GDL has been successful because of its broad public acceptance. In the article, Graduated Licensing Comes to the United States, Williams directly attributes the success of GDL to widespread acceptance, particularly among teens and parents. One short-term effect of GDL has been a decrease in teen licensure rates. The ZU article on the New York State GDL program found that the number of 16-year-olds gaining licensure declined since GDL implementation. This means that some teens are opting to wait until they're able to get a less restricted or unrestricted license at an older age rather than be under the additional GDL requirements. The opinions of the effect of this trend have been varied. While some say this means less teens will be on the road and at risk, others say that this may cause the number of inexperienced, unrestricted drivers to increase over the next few years. Another short-term effect has been a decrease in teen motor vehicle accidents as a whole. This was recorded by many studies of state and local programs, and while some age groups had different results, the novice drivers in general had a decrease in accidents. Studies in the short term were not completely sure which aspects of the GDL restrictions and responsibilities had the most impact, but had plans to monitor these effects in the long term. Lastly, a 2011 study showed a correlation between the nighttime restrictions and decreased teen drunk driving and underage drinking. The researchers state that some teens do not go out late at night, or they do not drive home until the next morning after a night of drinking, since they cannot legally drive after dark. In the long term, the additional GDL restrictions and responsibilities put upon teens and parents have become routine and uncontended. The need for and the impact of the GDL laws are widely known and accepted throughout the country. The long-term study on the Massachusetts GDL laws showed sustainability of the reduction of teen motor vehicle accidents. The Massachusetts study, as well as the Genesis of GDL article, also cite long-term benefits of improving driving skills for the future. Improvements in driver education, increased driving experience, and the absence of many distractions will cause drivers who go through the GDL program to be safer drivers in general through the development of positive driving habits. In conclusion, bringing GDL to other communities has already shown to be effective. The GDL policy and implementation in New Zealand and Canada heavily influenced U.S. GDL laws in the late 20th century. Individual U.S. states then began implementing these policies and adopting elements from other states. Today, all 50 states and the District of Columbia have three-step GDL initiatives. This shows that the scalability of the GDL concepts is universal to all industrialized countries and their communities. Thank you.